All right, before we get into details with Swift's modest proposal, one thing that I definitely do want to call attention to, which I think is pretty important for you folks just to keep a mind of. Anyone recall the publication date of this? 1729. All right. Which is obviously a fairly significant amount of time ago, almost 300 years. We're at 221 now, or excuse me, 291 years ago. 1729. Mary Wollstonecraft. Remember what year that was? Same numbers, different order, 1792. Henry David Thoreau was 1849. You think back to, talking about other passages and whatnot, like I said, that William Hazlitt essay was, I believe, 1803. So we've read a fair number of older texts and whatnot, but this is the oldest of them. So, talking about prompts on AP exams and passages and all that kind of stuff, and if you see that 18 or that 17, people kind of get a little terrified and petrified sometimes. 1729, that's pretty old, but you're still able to certainly follow along, understand, and know what's going on with it. So just because it's the oldest text doesn't mean it's going to be the one that's the most difficult for you to follow along with. And in some ways, it might be one of the more memorable ones that you have read, whether it be for the first time or the second, third, fourth time, depending on the other classes it's kind of come up in the past. But 1729, this is going pretty way back. Plus, also, we know it's not an American author, so, just because it's on the other side of the Atlantic doesn't mean that you're going to have a difficult time reading it as well. There's obvious shock value that's going on with it. Beyond he's talking about eating babies, or writing about eating babies. And you can be looking in Bedford Reader at this point, or it can be things off the top of your head. What are things that jump out beyond simply the idea of, okay, let's eat children? So it could be part of the structure of the argument before he gets to that part, which really the analysis that you were doing was kind of before he jumps into the big idea that he's going to get into. It could be some of the elements of support that he's using. It could be some of the word choice examples. What kind of jumps out?
The thing for me is that he got this idea of like that children are delicious from Americans. I found that kind of funny. Well, really.
And you take a look. With the footnotes and whatnot that are going on, I believe it's included with this one. No, I thought they had a footnote for it, but they don't. 1729. So this is before the colonies are really kind of starting to take place, where you have Americans are pretty much considered to be barbarians at this point. So it's a little bit of a dig, not necessarily at the United States of America and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, because that situation's not taking place yet. But those who would go live out there, over in that place and in the middle of nowhere, those are the kinds of kids that would be doing it. And you also have, whether it be in England, Ireland, people kind of thinking about, do I want to go over to, the Americas and kind of look at things a little bit different? Well, no, you'd be among the people who'd be eating kids. And this isn't only just be North America, but Central, South America. So this would be, at any place along those ideas. But yeah, okay, Pittsburgh, hey, I like Polishki and pierogies. It doesn't mean I like, little kids and whatnot. Libby might.
I think it's like, even though his actual proposal is kind of crazy, the title still fits because he does it in a way that's like very unassuming, and the way he uses his language is just kind of like he's not in your face of this is the only way, or, oh my gosh, I know everyone thinks this is horrible, but you see this anyway, and just kind of states the fact that, oh, we should try this.
Well, and what is a modest proposal? Like, I don't mean like this text, but if you're I have a modest proposal for you, Mr. Kane, or I have a modest proposal for you, Izza, or Libby. What do we mean by a modest proposal? Yeah, reasonable. It's not a life changer. It'd be different from going, I have a really crazy idea that let's kind of throw out. This is a modest proposal. This is a simple idea. This is a reasonable idea. This is a logical idea. This is a pragmatic idea. And so certainly in that sense, that's where, you know, the satire even begins from the get-go, because there's nothing about this situation that's going to be modest whatsoever. Not that this is going to be showing up, you know, in every single newspaper editorial opinion page and things like that, but it is a common allusion that you'll see people go, here's a modest proposal that I have about, you know, some other issue, but they're certainly drawing from Swift's A Modest Proposal, where it's actually going to be something pretty drastic. So should you ever see a modest proposal within a title, there's a good chance that there could be some kind of satirical element that's going to be taking place with it. And if you go along with that reasonable idea, you know, I kind of alluded to this already, what's he really doing those like first 3-4 paragraphs? Explains the problem, has some like, you know, numbers and statistics that are kind of go along with it. Well, and that's certainly on purpose by me in ways where, okay, we introduced that one as, hey, you could have some stuff coming from the Onion. You certainly can have a satire show up on an AP exam. I think you're more likely to see it as an essay, as a prompt, free response question, as opposed to it being a multiple choice. But if you do read something that you go, there's no way that they can be serious by this, then it's a valid question to ask yourself, are they being serious with this? So on the weekly syllabus for Thursday, it talks about us taking another look at an AP prompt brainstorm. That's also going to have a satirical element too. So, you know, it's not always, as we said, patriotism speeches, you know, stuff by Martin Luther King Jr., whether it's his birthday or end of the semester. You know, it's not always going to be Abigail Adams letters. It could be shoe inserts. It could be what we'll take a look at Thursday. And there's been quite a few interesting things that have certainly popped up over the course of the year. I don't think you would ever see a modest proposal show up on an AP exam. It's too common of a text. But you certainly could see something that might be written by Swift that still could have, you know, some kind of satirical elements going on with it. Well, most of you read it before, okay? Because I knew beforehand that Mr. Woffington has most of his classes read it, and I was pretty sure he did not read the whole thing. So you're familiar with what's going on. Even knowing what you were going to read, or maybe figured it out while you started to read, were there any details that as you take a look at it, you're going, okay, I'm still kind of uncomfortable here? Marie? Besides all of it.
It was like whenever they were like, oh, we could not just using it for food, but making gloves out of it, summer boots, and I was like, that kind of was a little bit
unsettling. Okay, so and again, quote unquote, the practical uses. So you could have, you know, gloves being mentioned, boots, you know, etc. Other things just beyond what could be happening for food. The idea that this could kind of become some delicacies. So not only could you go down to Rochester Inn and get your wings, you know, on Monday night or primary Wednesdays and all that kind of stuff, but they could try something out a little bit different if we wanted. Infant Friday, baby back rib, chilies, all you can eat, with chips and salsa on the side. So, you know, kind of garnish it nicely. So not only is it just going to be a food source, but there's going to be, you know, this could be the new wave of food that could be kind of coming off of it. Well, and so going back to the Magnasols that we looked at on whatever day that was, Thursday, one of the techniques that we kind of investigated was the idea that, hey, there are testimonials. What does he have? Testimonials that are taking place from a variety of sources. Within your packet that you're looking at, you had examples of ethos. You had examples of logos that were going on. So, you know, the idea of logic, the idea of some credibility, some validity happening to it. So all of these things he certainly is setting up in that way.
I think it was the irony between, in the beginning when he's like, oh, it's a crime to have abortion, and it's a crime to kill these children, and this is so horrible, and everyone hates it so much. And then he's like, well, you should go to them when they're one instead and eat them. And it's just there's a big difference there.
Yeah, well, yeah, and like I mean, within that, that fifth paragraph where he goes, there's likewise another great advantage in my scheme that it will prevent those voluntary abortions, and that horrid practice of women murdering their bastard children, alas, too frequent among us, sacrificing the poor, innocent babes, I doubt more to avoid the expense than the shame, which would move tears and pity in the most savage and inhuman breast. Oh, well, yeah, we'll just wait a little while, and then we'll do it. The comparison that kind of starts to take place is, where he takes a look at violence that happens against women. And anyone remember the way that he kind of compares it to that men, whether married or not, will not harm their wives or their spouses who are with child, because they're not going to go attack their cattle that have calves that are going to be born, because there's some use, there's some property, there's some value to it that is going to happen. So you have this comparison that's basically, not only are we comparing the babies to, animal meat and things like that, but also women. What word does he tend to use instead of women or mothers or females more often than not? Breeders. And he'll talk about, from the dam and all this kind of stuff, where there's a lot of animalistic diction that's taking place, where you're basically dehumanizing, the human aspect of the birth, and how this is going to be more of a product, a produce, a food, basically livestock that's going to be happening for folks. So that animalistic diction is certainly a way that he goes about reinforcing his point. Emma?
I was gonna say, he was like, like March is like prime baby season. Like you get the best ones from March, no other month, just March.
March Madness. I mean, watch your games. Little baby foot. Pigs in a blanket. Little babies in a blanket. Emily doesn't like this.
I don't really like children, but I don't like this at all.
It seems like a perfect blend of the two worlds.
I was just confused because he said he was best at 1 year old. That is the question. Yeah.
What would a reader think?
He's like young and spam.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I mean the obvious answer is no. And how many readers would actually get through the whole entire thing? I mean, Swift is known already at this point as a satirical writer, but certainly you're going to have non-literary folks who are kind of coming across this. I mean, think about anything that would ever get posted on the news or social media or whatnot. This is going to spread like wildfire. Have you heard about the guy who wants to eat kids? And so if you don't know anything about him as a person or as a writer, you're absolutely going to think this is a cannibal, that we're kind of dealing with here. And so literally that would be an honest question that people would be, has he tried this before? Where folks would wonder. By him including that, though, it makes it seem as if, yeah, I've done my research with this. I know that this is going to be the prime, but it's not going to benefit me, as Emma mentioned, it happens at the end, because this is too old for my wife to be able to do, but this is something that's going to be a benefit for the good of the family.
Something else I just kind of noticed was like how he said that he was like for Ireland, but a lot of the stuff he was writing in here was technically like a lot of like more pro-English stuff.
Well, and so here kind of becomes the issue. The problem that you're dealing with is obviously, he's already mentioned that you have a lot of poor tenants. Who would this benefit is not only going to be the tenants, who are for the most part predominantly Irish, but this is also going to benefit the landlords who are English. The issue, and he talks about shillings and absentee taxes and all that kind of stuff. One of the problems that's going on is a lot of the land is owned by aristocratic English families, all right, English noble families. So Shea has this, farm, borough, whatever that the Sweeney family has, and the poor Carrolls just can't, quite make it out on their own yet, so they have to rent from you. So Libby's family is renting from Shay. Generally, if you own property, and this would certainly be happening in Allegheny County and all throughout Pennsylvania, what you have to do on property. Same thing happens in Monopoly. For the game of life, you got to pay money on taxes. In Ireland at the time, if you do not live in the borough, you don't have to pay taxes for it. So you have absentee owners. So, your family has all of this acreage, all of this land, but you're not contributing anything to the economy. And as different families are going through, they can't afford it, you're able to kick them out and move on to someone else. So you don't have to be there to still kind of reap the rewards, the benefits of having the property, but you're not contributing anything to Ireland whatsoever. Ireland also, famous potato famine and things like that are certainly still kind of going on at this point. So you're really dealing with a ravaged place. Keep in mind, if you have and that's where some of that word choice already kind of starts to come in. One of the better lines is, hey, they may as well eat the kids because they've already devoured the parents. They're basically chewing them up, spitting them out as you're going through different families. They're going to be on the different segments of the property. If you do have a satire, the whole purpose of a satire really is going to be, social commentary. Generally, what is a satire going to be? Critical in tone. And the way it does this is going to be through irony. It's going to be through exaggeration. It's also going to be through elements of humor, which are certainly quite subjective. Some of you are going to find it funny, and some of you are going to be completely grossed out by what's going on, whether you like children or not.
I feel like he was being really critical about the economy itself, because he was trying to say how, like, women can provide this new industry and actually have a job instead of begging, but like now the economy is losing money.
And there's basically no, and he pretty much throws out there, give me a better solution than this. Whoever can figure this out, there should be a statue of Ethan, in the town square, or there should be a statue of Libby if she's able to figure this out. You give me a better solution, we can go ahead and do it. But as far as I can tell, this is the only thing that, not that it is the best solution, but it is the only reasonable, modest solution that's going to work based on the population, the ideals, the viewpoints that we currently have at this point. And here's the big tip kind of for you folks, not that you didn't know this already, but just to reinforce, and this would happen probably more so in a synthesis or a DRQ type essay assignment. If you're going to identify a problem, what do you have to provide? You have to provide a solution. You can't just ram up against something and go, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible. You need to provide some type of solution to it. Doesn't mean eating children is going to be the best one, but there has to be some kind of solution provided. He's satirizing everybody, but yeah, you're dealing with the split of the Church of England at this point. Used to be Catholic, we're switching over to Protestant, so that's where he's really railing against Papists and Catholics and all that kind of stuff, because it's kind of making fun of, look, you guys are going on a whim, you're choosing whichever religion you want to go with, or whichever, whether you want to be with the Pope or go with Archbishop of Canterbury on a whim. This is all pretty asinine for the most part. So yeah, that's going to be part of it. It's more so against the people of England than Ireland, but he certainly does have criticism for the people of Ireland, which we're going to look at here in a moment.
I think that like even
Something profound.
Literally, I was looking at something so intelligent. I literally don't remember.
Yep.
So that was the worst thing ever.
Happens to me more often than not.
I think he was also satirizing kind of like the Onion did, how people would write arguments, because it's like with the modest thing, it's very reasonable and it goes in a set order, and and it's just, if you ignore the content, it's like if you didn't know what he was talking about, it would seem reasonable.
Sure.
And the fact at the end, when he's like, oh, this wouldn't affect me, there's so many people, I guess in that time, who were giving solutions to things that would hurt other people, not actually.
And certainly the way that humans view other humans is getting satirized as well. We're saying, okay, you have a comparison basically of the Irish mothers and children to livestock. That's pretty much the way that a lot of the wealthy landowners were looking at them, more so than anything. It's a means to an end. It's a way to provide for my family. They pay rent, so that's basically food on my table. Hey, let's cut out the whole middleman. You want food on your table, why don't you just take the kids? Which is going to be happening to them anyway. Their life is going to get ruined. You may be the one that's going to benefit, directly from give the parents the money, but you're able to have the child. But certainly, when it comes to social classes and viewpoints, not that we have cannibals among us, but certainly humans don't always view each other as an equal when it comes to flesh, blood, ideas, and all that kind of stuff. I would say the most important paragraph in this whole thing is on page 680, paragraph 29. It's not really a funny paragraph. There's not a whole lot of irony in the paragraph. But if you're going to identify a problem, so you have to offer a solution, take a look at what he's doing in paragraph 29. I can think of no one objection that will possibly be raised against this proposal. None, Emily. Unless it should be urged that the number of people will be thereby much lessened in the kingdom. This I freely own, and it was indeed one principal design in offering it to the world. I desire, the reader will observe, that I calculate my remedy for this one individual kingdom of Ireland, and for no other that ever was, is, or I think ever can be upon earth. So it's only here and now. This isn't something that should have been done in the past. This should probably never be done in the future, but for the current circumstances that we're in, this is probably what's going to be best. Therefore, let no man talk to me of other expedients or other means, essentially, of taxing our absentees at 5 shillings a pound, of using neither clothes nor household furniture except what is of our own growth and manufacture, of utterly rejecting the materials and instruments that promote foreign luxury, of curing the expensiveness of pride, vanity, idleness, and gaming in our women, of introducing a vein of parsimony, prudence, and temperance, of learning to love our country in the want of which we differ from the Laplanders and the inhabitants of Tapamegu, of quitting our animosities and factions, nor acting any longer like the Jews who were murdering one another at the very moment their city was taken, of being a little cautious not to sell our country and conscience for nothing, of teaching landlords to have at least one degree of mercy toward their tenants, and lastly, of putting a spirit of honesty, industry, and skill into our shopkeepers, who, if a resolution could now be taken to buy only our native goods, would immediately unite to cheat and exact upon us in the price, the measure, and the goodness, nor could ever yet be brought to make one fair proposal of just dealing through often and often and earnestly invited to it. What's he doing in that paragraph? Here are the things that would actually do this. But since Ethan doesn't want to do any of those, so we could not try to be like the French and get all the exotic stuff. We could buy our own furniture, not support the Scandinavian economy by going to IKEA. They have really good Swedish people. Lingonberries. Chicken bread. And IKEA. Yeah. You can eat at IKEA. You can spend the whole day at IKEA. I'm serious. Like on like when you, it's like on one of the upper floor. You walk in. Yeah, Robinson.
Me and Dan Ross, whenever we try to see how fast we get through IKEA, and it still took like 30 minutes.
We could, stop dealing with vanity, idleness, gaming in our women. We could introduce a vein of parsimony, prudence, so we could be kind to one another. We could try not to cheat one another. But if you're not going to do any of that stuff, then the situation is so dire that it becomes where we have to literally eat the children. So here are the solutions that are actually out there. And this is the part that people probably don't always get to if you were reading it in 1729, because you're like, oh my goodness, this can't happen. But he's giving the actual solutions, but no one wants to do the practical things. So we have to go with something that's reasonable, something that's modest, something that's logical, and it gets to the point where it's time to eat. Let's go. But the way that he sets up the argument, in Virginia, I think you said the part of the satire is, the structure of it. The way that he sets up the argument, like in those first 3 or 4 paragraphs, is a logical setup. It's a logical approach. Then he just kind of hits you in the gut, literally, with literary term quiz on Wednesday. Tomorrow, when you come in, just pick up Siddhartha, talk about opposite side. don't know why.